She looked straight into the camera, spoke in a calm voice, and dropped every royal shield people thought she would hide behind. No grand palace hallway. No stiff title. No old royal script. Just Catherine, speaking as a woman, a wife, and a mother, telling the world she was fighting cancer. That was the moment everything changed. For years, people had looked at Catherine, Princess of Wales, as the polished one. The safe one. The woman who never stepped wrong, never said too much, never gave the cameras anything messy to feast on. She was seen as the royal who understood the assignment. Smile softly. Stand tall. Wear the right coat. Say the right words. Support the crown. And then, in one deeply personal video, she did something far more powerful than break protocol. She became human in public. Let's talk about what really happened, because the story people tell about Catherine is often too neat, too shiny, too controlled. The public image says she is calm, graceful, untouchable. But the deeper story is about pressure, silence, judgment, survival, and small moments of rebellion that started to add up. This was not one dramatic explosion. It was a slow burn. At first, the signs looked small enough to dismiss. A modern headpiece at King Charles III's coronation instead of a traditional tiara. A messy bun that sent royal watchers into a spiral. Bright red nail polish where nude shades were expected. A playful moment with Prince William on a red carpet that felt more real than royal. Tiny things. But in that world, tiny things are never tiny. What many people don't know is that royal life is built on signals. Every outfit, every gesture, every facial expression gets studied like evidence in a trial. So when Catherine started making choices that felt more personal, more modern, more relaxed, people noticed. Some praised her. Some whispered. Some acted like the monarchy itself had been put at risk because a future queen wore red nails and let a few loose strands of hair frame her face. That may sound ridiculous, but that is how royal watching works. On one particular occasion, during the coronation of King Charles III, many expected the old image of monarchy in full force, the jewels, the weight of history, the antique sparkle. The kind of fashion that says tradition matters more than comfort. Instead, Catherine arrived in ivory silk and a sparkling floral headpiece created by Jess Collett and Alexander McQueen. It was elegant. It was modern. And it said something without saying a word. She did not just dress for the ceremony. She dressed for the future. People immediately started asking the same question. Was this a style choice, or was it something bigger? Because when someone like Catherine makes a move like that, it rarely feels random. It feels considered. It feels like a message. Not loud. Not reckless. Just clear enough for the right people to hear it. Then came the hair. In September 2023, Catherine stepped out with a softer, looser look, including a messy bun and relaxed bangs. To most normal people, it was just hair. To royal watchers, it was a headline. The reaction was strange but telling. The same kind of look had once brought criticism when Meghan Markle wore it, yet Catherine was praised by many for seeming fresh and effortless. That double standard did not go unnoticed. And suddenly, what looked like a hairstyle became part of a much bigger conversation about who gets grace, who gets judged, and how royal women are measured by entirely different rules depending on who they are and what story the public wants to tell about them. But there's more to this story. At Easter 2023, Catherine appeared with red nail polish, a bright and bold choice in a space where quiet, neutral shades are usually treated as the safe option. Again, to most people, it meant almost nothing. But in the royal world, it was another small crack in the old image of perfect obedience. A crack people could see. Then there was that moment at the 2023 BAFTAs, when cameras caught Catherine giving Prince William a playful tap as they walked the red carpet. The clip spread fast because it felt so normal, so human, so unlike the frozen public image royal couples often present. People laughed. People replayed it. People loved it. Not because it was shocking in some wild way, but because it felt real. For 1 second, the future king and queen did not look like symbols. They looked like a married couple who knew each other well enough to be playful under pressure. That kind of moment matters more than people think. It changes the public feeling around a person. It says there is warmth behind the pose. And then came the moment no one could joke about. By early 2024, Catherine had disappeared from public view long enough for rumors to turn ugly. People online started building theories out of nothing. Every missing appearance became proof of something. Every silence became fuel. Social media turned into a machine that wanted answers instantly, whether or not a family was ready to give them. Then she spoke. And when she did, the gossip stopped sounding funny. Her cancer announcement did not just answer questions. It exposed how quickly the world forgets there is a real person inside the headlines. That is the real frame of this story. Not just fashion. Not just protocol. Not just gossip. This is about a woman who spent years being treated like an image and then, at her most vulnerable, reminded the world she is a human being first. The strange thing is, once you start looking back, you can see the shift long before that video. In her style. In her body language. In the way she reached for people during public walkabouts. In the way she started closing the distance between royal duty and ordinary feeling. On a visit to Wales, she hugged members of the public, including children, in a way that felt warm and instinctive rather than formal. That may sound small too, but royal life has always been built around distance. Handshakes. Smiles. Order. Control. Catherine leaned toward connection instead. It was a choice. And choices like that tell you a lot. The woman the world thought was only following the rules may actually have been rewriting them, piece by piece. That is where this story really begins. Not with a crown. Not with a title. But with a woman who reached a point where performing perfection no longer seemed enough. To understand why these moments mattered, you have to go back to the start. Before the headpieces, before the palace walls, before the world called her the future queen. Catherine was just a young woman dating a prince while an entire country tried to guess whether she would last. That guessing game became cruel fast. For years, she was mocked as Lady Katie, a nickname built around the idea that she was simply hanging around for a proposal. Imagine that. Your whole relationship reduced to a joke. Your patience turned into a punchline. Even before she married into the royal family, the public had already decided she was fair game. That kind of treatment leaves a mark. Accounts from journalists and longtime royal watchers reveal that Catherine's early years around Prince William were never as smooth as the fairy tale version people like to tell. Yes, they met at St. Andrews. Yes, there was romance. Yes, the story had the ingredients of a modern royal dream. But behind the image were breakups, strain, and long periods when nobody seemed sure they would make it. The split in 2007 became one of the clearest warning signs. Reports at the time painted a painful picture. Plans fell apart. The relationship ended. William was seen out partying. Catherine was photographed carrying herself with composure in public while tabloids treated the breakup like entertainment. There is something brutal about that phase of royal life. You do not just go through heartbreak. You go through heartbreak while cameras wait outside. And people watch to see if you crack. What many people don't know is that Catherine's strength, the same quality people now praise, may have been built in those years. She learned early that in royal life, silence becomes part of survival. You do not get to explain your side every time a headline twists the story. You do not get to shut the door and disappear completely. You learn how to stand still while people talk. That became her pattern. When she and William reunited and moved toward marriage, the public rushed to restore the fairy tale. The royal wedding in 2011 seemed like the clean ending people wanted. A prince. A perfect dress. A balcony kiss. A future secure. But stories do not end when the cameras love the picture. They usually get harder. After marriage, Catherine entered a system even stricter than the one she had been dating from the outside. She was no longer just the prince's girlfriend. She was part of the institution. That meant every appearance mattered more. Every outfit was decoded. Every smile could be read as approval, tension, sadness, or strategy depending on what the press wanted that week. And it did not take long for the pressure to show itself in ugly ways. In 2012, during a private holiday in France, topless photos of Catherine were taken and published without consent. It was an invasion so personal that it cut through the usual royal noise. This was not gossip built from whispers. This was a violation. William and Catherine fought back legally and won, but winning in court does not erase the humiliation of having private moments sold to the public. That scandal revealed something cold at the center of royal fame: even your body can be treated like public property. Then came the next layer of pressure, the kind that works more quietly. Questions about her weight. Questions about her clothes. Questions about how often she repeated outfits. Questions about whether she was too glamorous or not glamorous enough. Too thin. Too careful. Too perfect. Too boring. It never ended. One public figure mocked her for not wearing enough new clothes. Another criticized her makeup. Others commented on her body as if they had the right. It became a no-win situation. If she spent money, she looked spoiled. If she reused clothes, she looked dull. If she stayed silent, she seemed cold. If she opened up, she risked being judged for that too. Many are questioning how any person is meant to live under those terms. And then there was the family dynamic, which only made things more complicated. Royal households are often presented as one united front, but insiders and biographers have long described them more like a system of careful ranks, bruised egos, old loyalties, and private competition. That means Catherine was not just learning how to be royal in public. She was learning how to survive it behind closed doors too. Her relationship with Meghan Markle became one of the most talked about examples of this tension. The public version shifted depending on who was speaking and when. At one point, the story centered on whether Meghan had made Catherine cry before the wedding. Later, Meghan said it was the other way around. The details became less important than the effect. The effect was damage. Because once a story like that enters the public mind, it stops being a moment and starts becoming a symbol. People pick a side. They project deeper problems onto it. And the women at the center are left carrying a narrative bigger than the truth may actually be. The same thing happened with rumors around William's friendships and marriage, especially when Rose Hanbury's name entered tabloid conversation. Those allegations were denied and remain unproven, but the rumors spread anyway. And when rumors spread around royal marriages, they do not simply hover in the background. They eat away at the image. People start looking at every photo differently. Every glance becomes evidence. Every distance becomes a clue. That is why Catherine's public transformation matters so much. It did not happen in a vacuum. It happened after years of being watched, tested, measured, mocked, and expected to absorb pressure without visible complaint. She learned the old royal rule well: never explain, never complain. But there was always a cost to that. The warning signs were there long before 2024. The growing ease with which strangers discussed her body, marriage, emotions, and place inside the family. The way every silence invited louder speculation. The way every polished appearance seemed to demand more polish next time. Then came the health crisis. And everything that had been simmering beneath the surface rushed into view. On that particular occasion, the crisis did not begin with one dramatic public collapse. It began with absence. Catherine stepped back from public life, and instead of allowing space, the world treated her silence like a mystery puzzle to solve. That is when things got ugly. At first, people asked normal questions. Where is she? When will she be back? Is she recovering? But in the speed of online culture, concern quickly turned into frenzy. Social media accounts began spinning theory after theory. Ordinary silence was treated like proof of disaster. Edited images were studied like criminal evidence. Jokes spread. Memes followed. Even public figures joined in. A woman dealing with a private medical crisis became content. That is the truth of it. And the pressure did not stay online in harmless ways. It became a wave. The longer the silence lasted, the more confident people became in stories they had no right to tell. Some questioned her marriage. Others mocked the palace's communication. Others acted as if they were owed details on a timeline that suited them. What should have been a private season of illness became a global guessing game. This is the part that reveals the darkest side of modern fame. In another era, a person could retreat. In this one, retreat itself becomes suspicious. People want access all the time. They want proof. They want updates. And if they do not get them, they create their own version. That is exactly what happened. Accounts from broadcasters, commentators, and public figures only added fuel. Some later softened their tone after her diagnosis was made public. Some did not. One of the sharpest reactions came from voices who argued that privacy is the price royals give up the moment they marry into the institution. In that view, Catherine had no right to keep something so serious personal for as long as she did. It was a brutal argument, and a revealing one. Because it showed just how easily people stop seeing a royal woman as a person. They see the title. They see the privilege. They see the palace. And suddenly, they believe pain should come with public access. As if wearing jewels means you owe strangers every medical detail the moment they demand it. Then Catherine ended the noise herself. In March 2024, she released a video message. The power of that moment came from its simplicity. No massive state setting. No overly staged royal language. Just Catherine, sitting outdoors, speaking carefully and directly. She said she was undergoing treatment for cancer. The shock was immediate. The same internet that had been loud grew quiet for a moment. And that silence mattered. Because in that instant, the story flipped. All the jokes, theories, and demands suddenly looked cruel. People who had treated her disappearance as entertainment were forced to face what had really been happening. A woman had been trying to protect herself and her children while going through something frightening and deeply personal. She was not hiding a scandal. She was managing a battle. The fallout was emotional and public. Messages of support poured in from around the world. Commentators changed tone. Public figures who had joked about the situation faced criticism. The whole frenzy began to look like a case study in how fame strips away empathy. But there was another layer to the crisis too. Her announcement was not only about illness. It was about voice. By speaking directly, she stepped outside the cold machinery that often handles royal pain in formal language. She did not sound like an institution. She sounded like a human being. And in doing that, she quietly challenged the old rules more than any hairstyle or outfit ever could. Then people started looking back at everything differently. The coronation headpiece no longer seemed like just fashion. It looked like part of a woman shaping a modern role. The red nails no longer seemed like a playful break from custom. They felt like a sign of growing self-possession. The hugs and wails carried more weight too. They suggested someone who understood how much comfort simple human contact can hold. Even the playful moment with William felt changed by context. It was no longer just funny. It was evidence of life between them. Warmth. Ease. A marriage that, despite years of rumor and pressure, still showed signs of private trust and public flashes. Of course, that did not erase the harder stories around their relationship. The years of speculation, the old breakup wounds, the tabloid whispers, the constant reading of body language, all of that remained part of the public file. Some reports had even described heated rows behind palace doors, the kind of domestic tension that comes from living under extreme pressure, with staff around and little privacy. Whether every claim was fair or not, the larger picture made sense. Pressure changes people. Pressure changes marriages too. And in royal life, Even ordinary relationship strain gets magnified into a national conversation. William's old nights out, the Switzerland trip in 2017, the ringless finger that kept feeding rumors, all of it became part of a wider question people could not stop asking. How much can a marriage hold when the world studies every move? That question became sharper after Catherine's diagnosis. Not because it created new rumors, but because it revealed the stakes. This was no longer about tabloid appetite alone. This was about a family trying to stay upright, while also carrying the symbolic weight of the future monarchy. The confrontation, then, was not a single showdown behind palace walls. It was the collision between the public's hunger and Catherine's right to personhood. Her video forced that confrontation into the open. It made the world look at itself. And still, the full truth was not just about what happened to her in 2024. The full truth was about everything that had led to that moment. The complete picture of Catherine is much more complicated than either her admirers or her critics usually admit. She is not just the perfect princess of magazine covers. And she is not just the victim of endless scrutiny either. She is something harder to describe and probably more interesting, a woman who learned how power works, learned how silence works, and then slowly began making the role her own. That is the truth at the center of all this. For years, she survived by mastering restraint. She dressed carefully, spoke carefully, moved carefully. She gave the monarchy what it needed, steadiness. After the turbulence of other royal chapters, that steadiness became valuable. Catherine and William were presented as the stable pair, the safe hands, the image of continuity. But steady does not mean untouched. Accounts from journalists, photographers, commentators, and royal insiders reveal a different layer beneath the polished image. A young woman who entered one of the hardest families in the world. A wife who endured years of rumor. A public figure judged for everything from eyeliner to hemlines. A mother who tried to protect her children while global attention grew more invasive. A patient who was pushed by public pressure to share a diagnosis before she may have wanted to. That is not a fairy tale. That is endurance. What many people don't know is that Catherine's real rebellion may not be loud at all. It may be in the fact that she never became exactly what either side expected. She did not become a reckless royal rule breaker. But she also did not remain a silent mannequin for tradition. She found space in between. Look at the pattern. She modernized formal fashion without making it look like a protest. She softened public interactions through touch, warmth, and eye contact. She took on issues like mental health and early childhood development with seriousness, even when those subjects once sat outside older royal comfort zones. And when her private life was pushed to the edge by public obsession, she answered in her own voice. That is not weakness. That is control reclaimed. Public reaction to her story reveals something about the culture around monarchy too. People still want royals to be symbols, but they also want them to feel real. They demand perfection, then punish distance. They ask for honesty, then feast on vulnerability. Catherine's story sits right inside that contradiction. When she is flawless, some call her cold. When she is human, some call it calculated. When she stays private, people accuse her of hiding. When she speaks, they act like they always deserve the truth. That is the impossible trap. And yet, her image has changed in a way that matters. She is no longer just the girl who waited for a prince, nor only the elegant wife in a perfect coat dress. After the last few years, especially after the cancer announcement, she appears more solid, more self-defined, and strangely more relatable. Not because her life is ordinary. It is not. But because people have now seen the burden beneath the glamour. They have seen the cost. The aftermath of all this is still unfolding. Catherine remains central to the monarchy's future, and the closer William moves toward the throne, the more important her role becomes. The institution needs continuity, warmth, and credibility. Right now, she helps provide all three. That is why so much attention follows her every move. She is not simply another royal woman in the frame. She is one of the key faces of what comes next. And that brings us to the final layer of truth. The ambitious queen idea around Catherine is not really about personal hunger for a crown. It is about preparation, readiness. The sense that she has been shaped by pressure rather than crushed by it. People who have watched her over the years often point to the transformation, from a visibly nervous fiancée in 2010, hand trembling as photographers crowded around, to a woman who now carries herself with much greater confidence, even after one of the hardest years of her life. That change did not come from comfort. It came from fire. She has had to survive old media cruelty, invasive scandals, family tension, rumor storms, and the terrifying dehumanization that comes when millions of strangers feel entitled to your pain. And still, she keeps showing up. Sometimes in carefully chosen silence. Sometimes in one simple video that says more than 100 palace statements ever could. There is something almost strange about that level of composure. But maybe composure is the wrong word now. Maybe it is resilience. Because Catherine no longer looks like someone simply trying to fit the role. She looks like someone reshaping it in ways that are easy to miss if you only pay attention to the loudest headlines. The changes are subtle, but they are there. More warmth. More individuality. More directness when it matters most. Less distance. Less performance for its own sake. And yes, the contradictions remain. There will still be stories about family tension. Still be debates about hierarchy, duty, and whether the monarchy can modernize without losing itself. Still be critics who see Catherine as overpraised, and admirers who see her as almost untouchable. Both views miss something. She is not untouchable. That is the whole point. She feels the blows. She carries the strain. She absorbs the stare of the world like anyone else would, maybe worse, because her pain cannot stay private for long. And still, she has found a way to stand inside that machine without completely disappearing into it. She did not just survive the crown. She learned how to keep her name inside it. Catherine. Not just Princess of Wales. Not just future queen. Catherine, a woman whose public life has been built out of discipline, silence, pressure, and small acts of defiance that slowly turned into a new kind of royal power. That is why her story stays with people. Not because it is perfect. Because it isn't. Not because it is simple. Because it never was. It stays with people because it reveals what royal life really does to a person. It polishes you in public while testing you in private. It turns your image into a product and your pain into a spectacle. And every now and then, someone inside that world reminds us that behind the title, there is still a human being trying to breathe. Catherine did that. And once she did, the old script was never going to feel quite the same again.